And we are live hanging out with Nick James. And Nick James, I met a few years ago. He was a producer of a podcast I was a part of called the NEPA Scene podcast. And currently today, he has a podcast of his own called Buds, Bros, and Superheroes. And Nick, haven't seen you in a while, haven't talked to you in a while. So it's good to see you and kind of hang out once again.
Oh, I thank you so very much for having me. It's great to see you too. It
Well,
has it's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while. Is that Stained, right?
Dude, I don't know.
I think
People
it's
like every
Stained.
time I do that, somebody says, "Who is that?" I'm like, "I don't know." It's just this weird reflex I have when I hear the words, "It's been a while."
It's Stained. Aaron Lewis. I think he actually just recently got caught, not caught drunk. He was performing. He was hammered, and I think he played that song twice.
So it
He,
had not
he
fact
realized
been
it.
a while.
He,
Okay.
yeah, I think it was that song. But he had realized it and said, "Oh man, I should be playing this song instead." And it was kind of funny. Yeah, it's funny, but yeah, man, it's been a while, and yeah, it's good to see you.
I remember too, we talked about the last time we saw each other. You had come on, quote unquote, my radio show. I was at college, so it was a college radio still, but still one. But in between that, I think we did see each other in a Target parking lot where it was like Popko, and you were like Nick, and I was just like, all right. And we, because you were going out as I was coming in. Am I remembering that wrong? Do you remember that too?
That very well may have happened, Nick. These days are for me quite blurry. Not only do I drink a lot, but life is chaos. It's chaotic. Chaotic. It's jobs and wives, and you're newly married, I believe. So congratulations to you. But
Thank you.
jobs, wives, kids, COVID. I mean, the world's a crazy place we live in, and it's kind of hard to keep track of what the hell's going on these days. But we're here, we're podcasting. Like I said earlier, you have a podcast of your own called Buds, Bros, and Superheroes, and we'll get into that. But what I wanted to do really is just kind of see what you've been up to lately. We'll tell a story about how we met and kind of get through where you started and where you are today, and we'll get through that. Sound
Cool.
good?
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, man. So you and I we met again. We were doing you were the producer of the NEPA Scene podcast with Rich Howells. Rich Howells is the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, which is an online publication. He does very well covering entertainment here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I was lucky enough to be part of the podcast that he was doing called the NEPA Scene podcast, which was hosted and produced and filmed locally in downtown Wilkes-Barre at Cole Creative. They were gracious enough to offer their services to us, and I believe you were an intern or a paid employee.
Yeah. Yeah. They full on paid me and stuff. It was fucking amazing. The oh man, do you curse on yours?
Yeah, it's the internet.
Okay.
You can do everything you want. You
All
can
right,
get naked if you
for a
want. If you want
second,
to take
I
your
was
shirt
just
off,
like,
if you want to take your shirt off, you can do that too. It's fine.
I'm
I'm
not
not.
gonna Burt Kreischer this bitch.
All right.
I could with this body, but no, I'm not gonna physically do that for everybody.
Fair
We'd like
enough.
to keep
Fair
viewers
enough.
going.
Fair enough.
I was at the radio station that we were talking about for school at Wilkes, and a girl who was also on there was graphic designing there and said something to the fact of like, "Oh, you like podcasts?" And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "They're looking for somebody." I said, "Really?" She's like, "You should go talk to them." And that was literally just that. So shout out Emily. Thanks for that. Because the next day I was down there talking to Holly, and then I met Sam and all that went freaking awesome and started doing that. Met you and Rich. And I, I don't know if I ever met the third host of that show. I don't want to
Brittany.
start anything. Yeah, I'm not really ever sure if I did. Again, I'm not trying to stir up anything, but I do
No,
remember going back. Like I was watching a few of the old ones because they keep popping up in my Facebook memories, and it goes from three hosts down. And I was just like, I don't know if I was ever there to formally meet her.
yeah, it was funny because the three of us started that new season, I guess you can call it, because Rich was doing it with a different group of people. he kind of relaunched it. It was with us. It was Rich, myself, and Brittany Boot. Brittany Boot is a dear friend of ours, and she's an amazing photographer. But when we launched that podcast, she had also, like, maybe even before that, but at the same time, kind of started her photography business. And that kind of took off like wildfire. I don't think she expected to have the success that she did, but I'm so proud of her for, the success that she's had. She's done family photos for my family several times. She's great at what she does, but she just kind of got so busy she just couldn't, devote the time for the NEPA scene podcast, which was fine. So that's why she was MIA. She just had more important things to do, and rightfully so. And it's not a knock on her. It's something she had to do, and she's traveling the world. She's getting married, I think, the end of this year. So things are going very well for Brittany Boot. I'm very proud of her. And but yeah, that's the little history lesson on that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I never brought it up. I wasn't ever too sure.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad. No, there's no bad blood. There was no breakup between the team. It's just just people's time is very valuable, and we kind of have to figure out what to do with that extra time, because as you get older, you'll find that extra time, spare time becomes uh far and far less. I don't know if you and your wife are planning on having children, but like that just kind of adds to the whole you know just removing the spare time from your life. But it's
Yeah,
also an amazing thing too. So I will not discredit or bash the fact that I'm a father. I love being a dad, and but just priorities change. That's all it is to it.
I understand. Right now, I'm not going to say it's a hard no, but it's a no as
Okay.
of right now. We got two pit bulls. We have those, and not to compare them to children. I'm not saying anything like that, but that's enough. So I can't even imagine stepping up to a real baby. Like my brother just had a baby, and we've talked a little bit and stuff, and it's in a Joe Rogan thing, how much we love him, of just like, you have a baby and shit starts switching in your brains, is like the thing what he was saying. And he said, dude, it's true, like I'm starting to think of things that I've never thought I'd have to think of just like priorities are different. Protecting myself means nothing compared to that's number one over there. I protect that, I care for that and stuff. He's much more eloquent about it. I don't think he points at his child and says that, but I think I was trying.
Well, I'm confident in the fact that if you were to have a child, you would be a great father, and you would do the same thing. The natural instincts just kind of kick in, and it's a wild ride. It's like you don't even think about it. It's just like this thing. I care more about this thing than I've cared about anything in my entire life. And it's funny you mentioned Joe Rogan. I'm sure we'll talk about him a lot. I'm a huge fan, and he was talking. I don't know if he had a joke about it, but he was saying how, you know when you have a child, he's like, oh, if you're in the house and you have a bunch of bananas, or have like two bananas left, and like one is about to, like, it's like no longer good, and there's one that's like, still salvageable, and it's just you and your wife. You're like, yeah, I love my wife, but like that bitch can eat this shitty banana. Like, she would do the same thing to me if the roles were reversed. But like when you have a child and you know that your child likes bananas, like you'll eat that shitty banana and save the good banana for your kid. And obviously he presented it much better than I just did, but like you kind of laugh. I mean, I'm sure there's been scenarios where you come across where you're like, I could say this for my wife and be nice, but fuck that. I'm not doing that, because she would take the good one if she had the opportunity to.
Yeah, I'm only an uncle, but I kind of crossed that the other day where the kid was like, I got my bacon first, and he was just zoned out looking at it. I was like, you can have a piece of bacon. He's just like, thanks so much, like. And what that says is I will give bacon to another human, and it's not going to be my wife. And that's not just because she's vegetarian. Even if she wanted to be like, no, you ordered your own. Wait.
Yeah,
But for my nephew, for even just my nephew. So yeah, if it was my kid, I'd be like, here, take a whole pig. I don't even know. Like, I don't know if I could open myself up to caring that much about something, because I already am just like a smotherer of love. Like, again, not to address the dogs as like they're people, but I'm just like, maybe they're sick, and it's like, no, they're tired. Like, just relax. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I'm
no, it's the same level of care. I think, like, and it's good to be able to care about things that are, um, bigger than yourself. It's no matter. There are people who think that they're. I'll probably get fucking hung for this or hanged or whatever you say it, but they think that their animals are their kids, and in some cases, I guess that's comparable, but not really. But maybe I don't know. Because I can't value them the same, right? I mean, I love my pets. I have a fucking diabetic cat. The cat just turned 17 a couple days ago. It's been diabetic for 9 of them. I don't know how the cat's still alive. I spent a fortune in to buy insulin for this cat. So again, I give the cat insulin shots twice a day. So obviously I love and care for animals, but they're just not on the same level. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
Tom Segura has a good joke about that too, where he talks about like if a dog, if he loves his dog and he loves his kid, but if his dog ever bit his kid, he'd basically go and drown it and be
Right.
like, I would never go and do that for like my kid hit the other way, and be like, look what you made me do. And it's like, nobody would care. Sorry, guys. Dark. So I'm sorry I went so dark so quick about drowning dogs. I don't drown dogs. It was a Tom Segura joke.
Yeah, no one's drowning. It's a joke, people. It's a joke.
Isn't that weird that we have to really put that out? Talk about what comedians are talking about, and we're like, it's just a joke. A comedian said it.
Yeah, I'm sure my 2 listeners aren't going to care that much, but yeah. So thanks for taking your time to speak to me and my 2 listeners. I appreciate you staying up late for that. But yeah, so you were a producer of the NEPA and podcast, and then so I don't know your full story. Like, I know what you're doing today. I know that you were hosting a radio show at Wilkes because I was on it. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, how did you go from producing a podcast as an intern or a hired gun, or to having your own?
I had one before that. Even I was doing,
Geez.
Gluttons for Geekdom. We got 37 episodes in. So as you see, the shit I like to talk about, from down on me to all around me, like, I really like nerd shit, and it's been my favorite kind of stuff to get down to this whole time. We got far in.
Well, I feel like, I mean, for those of you who are listening and can't see Nick James, um, Nick James looks exactly like Kevin Smith. I mean, if dude, if you were out and about, like, you could be confused. I'll just say
Thank
that.
you.
And you
I
probably
bought a trench coat, so the likelihood would go up.
And why you're not wearing that trench coat right now? I don't know why you're not doing that. But
I had thought about it, but fuck, I had to turn off the fans for good audio quality, and I'm sweating. Sweating already, but it's going to sound really well. So that's something to look forward to.
Okay.
It's one of those things that you just have to suffer for. It was funny. I did an episode with my parents, and so the name of my show is Buds, Bros, and Superheroes, and there's 3 little kind of parts to it. And in between every part, we had to stop and turn on the air conditioner and stand in front of it, like kind of fan ourselves out, because it was so hot that fucking day. I don't know where that was going.
Did you ever think you'd be doing a podcast with your parents,
No.
especially with the title Buds, Bros, and Superheroes?
No.
Hey mom, dad, do you want to do a podcast? We're going to talk about marijuana, and we're going to talk about some comic book stuff and superheroes. It's just kind of funny to think about.
Yeah, for that one, I was I let the term superheroes go a little loose, and I can even get your perspective on this. Is Harry Potter a superhero?
I don't know. I don't like Harry Potter. Never saw. I started to watch one of them. This is back in 2006. I fell asleep. I have no desire to see any of those movies. I don't know why. I don't like wizards and sorcery and things like that. I think I watched one Lord of the Rings when I was in college or high school. It's what I was just talking the other day. Like those movies are way too long, especially now. And I think I was discussing how the fact that like I just have very little free time, and I can't bring myself to watch anything that's longer than an hour and a half, just because I get to a point where if it's 2-3 hours, I'm like, wow, man, I could have done a lot of other things in those 3 hours, whether it was a podcast with somebody or a fucking nap. I mean, goddamn, you know.
Yeah.
But way off topic, I think. I don't know where we were. Oh, you were saying that you had a podcast before I met you as a producer of the NEPA Scene podcast.
So I'd started that in New Jersey, and then I moved here to finish college at Wilkes. And shout out to those guys. I do love them to this day. They made the trek more than once out here to put together an episode, which is hardcore because it's like a 2-hour plus drive.
Oh yeah.
And like that's pretty hardcore. I don't know if this, as I point to the screen and kind of means Skype, Zoom, all these different things. I don't know if we ever thought to do that. We were broadcasting episodes straight to Facebook. I don't know why we never thought to do that, but we didn't, and it just kind of fizzled, because I went back to school, so my schedule was limited of when they needed to take a 2-hour drive, and I don't fucking blame them for not wanting to do that shit. Like that's
Sure.
a long drive. I've done it. It sucks. It's not even a good looking drive half the time or shit.
Right. Well, I don't think like the Zoom and the Skype thing got really popular until, I mean, like obviously it was a thing, it was accessible to us, but I mean the pandemic that started in March of 2020, I mean that launched everyone into a space that that's how we communicated for our jobs and meetings and all kinds of stuff. And now I mean, at least I am using it for this. We talked earlier just because it's convenient. I'd rather not be doing it over Zoom. I'd rather have a studio where we can be sitting face to face, like for real. I can shake your hand. You can have some beers together, or you can partake in some extracurricular activities. I don't do that. I'm not good at it. We discussed at one
Still
point.
my favorite answer to, hey, do you smoke pot? I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it. It's not good at it.
It's not really a yes or a no, but we know your stances. I'm not good at it. So
Yeah.
I love that answer. That was like the first thing. Maybe it was because we were talking about Joe Rogan, but yeah, I said something. I don't remember how it got brought up, but that was the first thing. And to this day, the most unique answer that anybody's ever given to me. It's like, you smoke? Like, I'm not good at it. Like, okay. Like, do you need help? Is that what you're asking for? Is that a solid no? Or
yeah, I didn't know someone could be good or bad at it.
am I good at it? Like, did I find something I'm good at? This is great.
Yeah, what a great thing to be good at, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can understand why you're like, oh, you didn't really think about, because there's nothing like the human interaction, like the face-to-face thing. I mean, ideally, you'd want to be face-to-face. So I can understand why, you guys really didn't put a lot of effort into driving 2+ hours to hang out, to record a show. So don't beat yourself up for it. Is what I'm saying.
Even with this current show, it started with one person, and now it's kind of a rotating guest. Like I'm always there, but I'll rotate people in and out. But it was only one person, and yeah, having them here every week is definitely different than what we're doing now, or what I've even done with past friends of hanging out and talking and stuff like that. So I could see. I don't even know, even if we had decided to do it like this, if it still would have lasted compared to that. It's not like hanging out with friends and this bullshit, especially when we're laughing, but like to hear somebody's laugh, I don't know, it just makes you laugh harder sometimes and shit. It was good, but eventually school, it took over all.
Sure.
Because I joined the radio, joined the paper. I was late to school. I didn't ever do college well until I was like 28 years old. So I was trying really hard to do stuff and do it right. And I joined stuff and had a radio show, and it was bitching.
How the fuck old are you now?
30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just graduated. So maybe I was 27 when I started.
Okay. I mean, I thought you were like mid-20s.
No, I'm about to. I'm closer now that it's the end of July, it's almost August. I'll be 31 in September. So really closer to 31 than not. So yeah, maybe I was 20, 27, 28 when I was like, I'm going to give this college thing, not the old college try. I did that shit like 5 times before Wilkes and it didn't work out once. So I went to Wilkes and I was like, I'm going to really do this. And I did. I graduated. It finally happened. So in that time is where I joined the radio show that eventually I sat down with Emily, and Emily's like, go to that podcast place, go to Cole Creative. And I did. And all of a sudden I went from a guy who had a podcast to like producing a podcast. And I was like, this is amazing. And then too, like we were saying, like I was paid to do it. And it's like, wow, I went back to school so I can learn how to produce podcasts. So learn how to produce pretty much anything, broadcast of anything. And I'm not even done and they're doing it already. Like the system kind of works a little bit. Like I was pretty impressed with it. I'm not saying that college is for everyone. I'm not saying you have to go to college, but
it's not for everyone, man. Like, and I mean, so when I started at the Weekender 2005, now I was an intern before that, and they said that you needed a bachelor's degree to work there and to even be considered for the job. Looking back on it now, I don't know if that was something like employers did, like, oh, we have to like put that as part of like the job description or for the the hiring description or whatever it might be. Because like, fast forward when I was in sales for the radio station, like I could have done that without a degree. But I always say like I wouldn't have been able to do that job if I hadn't had the job at the Weekender first, which I needed a degree for. So it's like it all kind of worked out, and everything played its, played its part. And thankfully, I finally paid off my student loans last year. Pat myself on the back a little bit there.
I pat you too, so for you.
But yeah, I mean, college is not for everyone, and I think people are really starting to see that now. I mean, I'm all for education. I think we would be a better society in general with a more educated population. But again, why would someone want to put themselves in thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt when it's not for them? There's nothing wrong with learning a trade. There's nothing wrong with, and especially now, the trade areas are where the jobs are lacking. I'm sorry, the employees are lacking in that field. Like the jobs are there, but there's no one to take them.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're in a trade, I mean, you could charge $150 just to walk in the door, trying to fix a washer or a dryer, or what you name it. Like, because there's idiots like me out there who have no clue what they're doing. I'm not going to watch a YouTube video on how to fix it because I don't have the time. I want to pay someone to do that and do it right the first time. Someone who has the tools, who has the experience, the knowledge, and have it be done right the first time instead of me taking hours of my day and fucking it up, making it worse, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to make it worse.
Oh, yeah. Either that or I'm just going to do it not the way you thought. Like, oh, hang drapes, fine. And like I pull out a staple gun and it's like, no. Never mind. We'll figure out a different way to do this or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But no, if the lawnmower is broken, it's like, well, what's wrong with it? It's like, I don't know. I pulled the string. It didn't fucking, like, what do you mean? What's wrong with it? If I knew that, I'd fucking fix it. I don't know what's wrong with it. What do you want me to do? Like, my first thing is there gas in it? Yes, it's broken. Broken. Don't know. Got to take it to the guy. So I don't really like understand when people like, oh, there's this crack. How'd that happen? I don't know. I would have, if I knew what would have put the crack there, I would have prevented it, first of all, or anything like that. Just, I don't understand it 100%. So I'm 100% with you in the fact of like, I found a guy out here or guys out here. They put a bathroom on for me. They were great because I had a really bad experience with somebody. So I knew how low it could get. And these guys were amazing. So like now I keep that card. I feel like it's a nice little security blanket. I'm like, shit, if something breaks, I'm calling those guys, getting them back here.
Well, it's funny too because there's a lot of phonies out there.
Hell
Like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I can fix your shit and I'll do it for half the price. Oh yeah, they'll fix it, quote unquote.
That's exactly what happened to me. I
Yeah.
was hardcore duped, like 4 figures duped into this guy's like, I got you. And I was
Yeah,
just like, all right, cool. And he's like, I ain't got you. I was like, thanks. This has been a wonderful lesson and a painful and an expensive one. But at the same time, I don't know. It it was an expensive lesson, but it was a lesson because these other guys who came in, I was like, listen, not that I was an asshole about it, but it's like, I need to know when you're going to be here.
Mhm.
I need you to tell me when you're going to, like, I asked questions that I didn't know I should have asked asshole number one. And yeah, maybe I could have been nice to them at the beginning, but once I realized they were great. They were like, we're going to show up every day until it's done, minus the weekends. Oh, and there's one day, we don't know what day it is, but we're going to get a part. We have to take a half day that day to go fill it somewhere else. And damn me if that's not exactly what the fuck they did, dude. It was amazing.
If they keep you informed and they do what they say they're going to do, I don't care how long it takes you to do it. Just, thanks for the communication. I think it's a lot of things in life. It's just like if there's communication, it's a lot easier to do whatever you're doing.
I also, sorry to make this the
No,
Nick
do
James
it.
bitch fest, but I also had a fence put in, and like the guy just kind of came and worked and left and shit. And I said, listen, like, I've got dogs. I need to know when you're coming and going to make sure that A, we're there if you need anything, like B, like, and C, you're a fucking stranger. Can you just like, he thought because he worked outside, he didn't have to tell me anything. One time I was like, when's the next time you're going to be back? And I swear to God, not Spanish, did not ever speak any Spanish to me. But his text message reply was mañana. And I was like, good to know. All right, great.
These are my fucking kids, these dogs.
I need to know they're safe out there. Yeah, no,
Don't you understand?
It was real to me.
My in-laws got fucked real bad. And it's funny because these contractors, what they do is they'll open up new businesses. It's really easy for them to get like new like contractor numbers and things like that. And they'll open up different names under different people's like other people's names, and they'll just keep going around, duping people left and right, and just keep new names under new names. I don't know this guy. We the guy that did this, like my wife was like on a mission. Like, we're gonna find this guy. We're gonna fucking nail him to the wall. And she did a lot, but the system and the way things are set up is not in the favor of the consumer. It's more in the favor of the people that are able to set these businesses up. Um, she got really far, but when we found out a lot of different things about this guy, who he fucked over this person, he fucked over like a school, and I'm like, I don't know how this guy is not dead yet. I don't
I'm
know
not even sure we're not talking about the same person right now.
Maybe we are. I have no idea.
We really could be. That's amazing. Could you imagine?
Was his name Robert?
No.
Okay.
Unless he's changing his name. My guy's name was Dave.
I mean, it's possible. I won't say his last name. I mean, who cares? But like, the sad part is like, so my in-laws, like, they're in a fixed income, like they're older. So like the money that they have is like, it's money that they spend very wisely. They can't just throw it around like, hey, we can spend 10 grand and not care. And I went to this guy's, the building he was currently working out of. And it was funny because I was in sales at the time. I was wearing a suit. I had a nice like pea coat jacket, scarf around my neck. And I was driving by, and so there was a guy standing outside. I'm like, this is probably the guy. So I get out of the car and I said, "Are you Robert, whatever?" And he's like, "Who's asking?"
Oh, what a dick.
And I'm
what
like,
a dick answer.
I'm like,
this
I said, so like, I'm like, I know that you're Robert, whatever. And so I said, I'm like, do you understand what you've done to like my mother and father-in-law? Like, this is a big deal. Like, and it I don't so it didn't cause problems in their marriage, but like I mean, like this was a strain on their life, right?
Yep. I
And he's
feel
like,
that.
no,
Yeah.
no, I'll call him tomorrow. Like I don't want to cause any problems to you. Blah blah blah. I'm really sorry. This that the other thing. All the excuses he could, and I was much bigger than him, um, and like part of me wanted to just like hold him up against the wall and be like, listen, motherfucker. Like, but again, I'm trying to like, I'm like, this guy's, he feels bad. He's going to do the right thing. I'll call him tomorrow. Guy fucking ghost them. I can never find them. And they got stiff with it. Like, like her father had to fix some of it. And, yeah, it's just a mess. And it's just sad. And I don't know how we got on that discussion, but, yeah,
Do you want me? I can actually segue us right back, if you will,
go back.
into
I
what
need,
we
I need
thought
help.
was going to happen with us. So I'm graduates college, and I want to do a new podcast. And in between that, I've asked a bunch of people, "Do you want to start one?" And a few nibbles, never really got anywhere. Blah blah blah. Now I'm introduced to my wife's coworker. No, my wife's coworker's husband. Sorry. And we start talking and stuff like that. And we're going to start a podcast. Anyway, I'm telling him about this bathroom thing that I'm doing, all while this is up in the works. And he said, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like the worst. This happened to me this one time." And I said, "What was the guy's name?" And he said, "Dave." And I went, "No." And he too was fucked over by the guy who fucked me over. Isn't that weird? What a
Crazy.
small world it is. And then we
Yeah.
started a podcast together. So we could kind of segue that way if you wanted, but
No,
what a weird small world.
I guess to pull it all back in, we were talking about college and college not being for everyone, and the trades and things like that. And we need better people in the trade industry. And but yeah, go back to you're done with college, and not that it wasn't for you, but it just took you a little bit longer than the average Joe.
Yeah, I tried a few different things. I was going to do business. I was going to be an artist. I was going to be a marine biologist. I tried it all, sir. I definitely know what I don't want to do, I guess.
The sea
And
was angry that day, my friends.
yeah, dude, it was fucked up. I was down at Stockton University in New Jersey, like going out into the marsh, like for real, rolling up your pants and like collecting water. And
Oh
I was
wait,
just
so
like,
hold on. I made a Seinfeld reference.
oh yeah, that
You
went
were
whoop.
legit. You were legit. Um, going to be a marine biologist.
For one semester, I thought it
Okay.
was gonna happen. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Seinfeld shit goes, yeah, dude. Shout out to my friend JD, comes on Buds Bros sometimes. He loves that shit and he's trying to get me to like it. And I'm not gonna watch it. I'm that one person who's like, nope, can't do it. Sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Also, I want to point out really quick, if you hear panting, it's my dog. Sorry, there's fireworks going off. So if you hear the booms and the panting, nothing nefarious, nothing weird going on. Just a dog that's super afraid of fireworks.
Are you a big shut down the fireworks because they scare my pets?
I think there's a time and a place for it. So obviously the 4th of July, that's cool, but there
Okay.
should
But
be.
there's people out there who like are like, no fireworks ever because they scare my pets. Now,
Fuck that noise.
okay. So I'm just asking because like so I love pets. I'm a big pet lover. I don't want animals to be afraid. So I'm like kind of torn. I don't know like I want people to enjoy fireworks, but I also don't want pets to be terrified. But there's a big movement. I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's a big movement to get rid of fireworks because of animals.
The business of fireworks, like fireworks all around, everything about them. People are saying, stop it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. That's amazing. America. It's like, bless them. They're allowed to do it. But I think that's one of the craziest fucking things I've ever heard. The
Yeah.
entire industry of fireworks has to shut down because my dog can't handle it.
No more
This bitch
fireworks.
can't take thunder either. Who am I going to take that up with? Like, it's
Talk to
going to
God.
happen.
You better write a fucking letter to God. Tell God, hey
Exactly.
guy.
You got to knock that bowling off up
Yeah,
there.
that's what I was told when I was younger. Just God's bowling. I was, oh, that's cool.
That's what I was told too. That's
Cool, man.
amazing. We didn't grow up anywhere near each other, and yet that was the same thing.
Well, I mean, God is everywhere. I'm not a big. I mean, I was religious. I've had my back and forth with the whole concept. We won't get into that, but yeah, God was bowling. Nothing to be afraid of. Just having a good old time, you know, rolling that ball, knocking down the pins.
I'm trying to tell her that, but she's not buying it. We did try dog CBD treats though.
Okay.
Yeah, went down to Utopia, right in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
You know where that strip is, right there on that corner. So fucking good. And
Did it work?
yeah. Now she needed a few. So at the end of the day, the cost was pretty great.
Okay.
But
So
she chilled the fuck out. Like she was pretty zen about it.
so
And then
I have something to share with you.
okay.
This show is sponsored by a company called Applied Botanics. And their philosophy is they're much cheaper than your traditional CBD oils because their thought is, it shouldn't take a payment plan to be, to be able to take CBD. So they have a line for pets. Oh shit. This is not even planned. So they have small pets, they have medium-sized pets, and they have large pets. So just like you would yourself, you just administer it, little droppers, and it's very affordable. And you can get 30% off your first order with the code word Popko Project. This is amazing. This is like the dream endorsement right here. We're simply talking about fireworks, and this pops up. And the fact that I have them down here is amazing.
Yeah, that lined up pretty great for you.
It really did. That's amazing. I'm like actually really thrilled about this whole thing. And I don't know if you saw this, but the flavor on this one is bacon.
No, to continue with it, I did
they're-
actually know that. I somewhere in my brain, I was like, I should ask him about that during, but it went away because they were just you did a Instagram post with them. This one's sponsored by, and I went into it and I looked and I was like, I should really remember this. It should be bookmarked somewhere in my iPhone because I do want to look at it. Definitely need the large dog, 750 milligrams. She could take that. She could take a full drop of that. He could probably get 1.5. He's a big dog, but he also doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, but
He
I
don't
mean,
care.
it's the company itself, and they just launched some new products. And I don't know if the pets have changed, but they have gummies now. They have roll on CBD. But again, yeah, 30% off with the code word Popko Project. So, and it's already, like I said, much more affordable than other brands. So, for what it's worth, check it out.
No, dead serious. I will. I definitely will because sometimes you just feel bad for her because now I'm starting to maybe reconsider that it might be Thunder. And like truly honestly, what the hell am I supposed to do? And especially in times like this or in and around May where it's 2 or 3 days of it, because she'll like when you touch her, she's
Shaking.
for those who can't see, I am vibrating. It's
sad,
sad.
yeah.
It's hardcore. It's not just like I'm a little bit afraid of what's going on. It's guys, I think it's this is my final day. These are my dying hours, and I love you all, and I just got to shake because she's the sweetest thing.
Sure.
Just dumber than a box of rocks. Just doesn't get it. But she was also like taken from a raid. So my wife / her mother, if you will, is always like, I think it's her remembering. It's her remembering the day they kicked in the door, and I was like, relax. I'm not good. I don't think that.
But yeah, I mean, they don't know what the word thunder means, so it's like they're animals. They're meant to be loved.
They think in words? This has gotten so off. So
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know.
but like,
no, I mean, like I think they know their name. I think they
I
know
would
that,
agree. Yeah.
and maybe that's more of a sound that they hear. Like, if their name was Nick, they're not like, oh, he said Nick. It's more of this person looked at me. The sound out of their mouth is consistent with, what they've normally said or what I've heard. So they must be acknowledging me, and I'll acknowledge them back. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Because then I think of too, in that same thing of like her name is Ava. Normally he doesn't care, but if I go like if we're all in bed snuggling, I go, "Oh, come here, Ava." All of a sudden he moves, just like, "What do you mean, Ava?" Like that's my dog voice for him because he's
Right.
giant. He's like,
He's
"What do
giant.
you mean, her?" Like I should be up there, Dad. And then I start to think of like, is that too much, or is it just a jealous, just a basic instinct of jealous? I'm jealous. I should be up. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Feeling or just raw emotion, or if there is thought. Because sometimes too, I've seen him go for a toy, like she's in his spot, and he'll go for a toy, and she'll jump out of his spot to go get the toy that he shouldn't be touching, quote unquote, and he jumps back in his spot, and it's like, that was some fucking thought, dude. Like I saw that was a plan, and then you executed it, and it worked. Like I've seen children who can't do that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I caught my nephew with his hand literally in the cookie jar. That face is too much. That's a priceless face of like, I need to lie and I need to lie quickly, but I'm too young and I don't know how to do it. I love that.
Or they just smile like you're not gonna do anything about it. Like I'm not really hurting anybody. It's just a cookie.
Yeah. Oh no, that was not his reaction. His reaction was, I don't know Uncle Nick's reaction to what's gonna happen. I'm in uncharted territory. He was just like,
Like, oh shit.
yeah, I
Oh
know how to
shit.
play mom and dad like a violin, but all of a sudden this tube is in the room and I don't know what to do with it.
Oh man. Another tangent. I don't know how we even got on.
No, that's the brilliant though. That's the thing I
Yeah.
like about podcasting the most. It's just the free form of it. We talked about, doing it on your schedule, doing it with the people you like, even. That's been great. Because we talked about too about how Skype or what Zoom, whatever you're on, has become more prevalent. And even though I can call these people, I usually don't. One of the greatest ones that I've had recently is my two oldest friends, Roy and Adriana, have been on the podcast. And it's like, this has evolved, like, or this hasn't evolved. This has existed this whole time. And not until I need you to be on the podcast that I actually put forth the effort, which makes me sound like a dick now that I'm thinking about it. But we were able to talk for hours on hours, and that good came out of it. I love podcasting. I was introduced to it more so than anybody by Kevin Smith. Those who don't know you think I look so much like him, but
I mean,
he was just like, do it. Just do it, bro. Like if you could do it, just do it. And I was like, I should do it. And that's how Gluttons of Geekdom was born. And then from there, it just kind of kept going of like you said on earlier of like, I wanted it, I willed it, and now it's here. And that's how I feel about it. Like now it's here and now I'm doing it. And to have weird little tangents like these are some of the best parts.
well, yeah, and I mean, the one reason I wanted to start like my own thing too was like initially I wanted to start one just to have these conversations documented with people that I liked like some of my best friends, and I didn't want to really necessarily release them, but I figured one day I'm going to be old and my memory will probably be the first. I have a really good memory. That'll probably be the first thing that goes, and I want to be able to, when I'm older and forget these things, I'd be able to have an audio documentation and be like, Amanda, give me my tapes. Just kind of like put the headphones on and kind of remember the good old days, so to speak. But then I got, I got into radio and took a different avenue. But I mean, now I get to learn from other people and learn about their stories. So, but yeah, I mean, you've I feel like you've had a couple because if I'm correct, you had the one you just mentioned. You had like a Nick's Nerd News.
Yeah, that was coming fresh. I did that. I started that in college. So I think you could watch it if you're in Wilkes. I don't know the actual channel, but like the Wilkes University communication department broadcasts a live news show where there's a real weatherman and everything. And they needed segments. So every, I don't know, third week or whatever it ended up being, they would have 6 minutes of Nick's Nerd News, which was me just downloading 6 minutes of nonsense of me just doing almost exactly this because I was able to borrow equipment. And anybody who's young listening to this, if you're at school, just do it 100 times out of 100. Now, I mentioned that I went into this being specific, but like if you're not taking advantage of stuff, like I went to this place and I was like, I want to do it from home. And they're like, take all this equipment, like XLR cables, the camera, a lavalier, multiple lights. Like I was really set up in my basement where I tried to have a similar nerdy kind of background to make it different. And to also, like we were talking about, doing on my own time, it'd be 1:30 in the morning and I'd be sitting in front of this thing just talking to a camera exactly like this, of like, now Batman's going to be played by Ben Affleck and what do you think, and stuff like that. And then once I got out, I had also taken that knowledge and what we had done through, I always called it the NEPA scene. Now I'm realizing you spelled it out every time, NEPA scene.
Yeah, not a big fan of so it's NEPA might be even worse than NEPA. Not calling you out. I mean, to each their own. But I don't like NEPA. I like NEPA even less. I call it NEPA. But again, that's just me.
Go into it though. I want to know, like, this is a fun tangent. And then once you're done, let's not forget, I need to know what comes after the word Wilkes when you're talking about that place that we're talking about. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say how I say it.
Sure.
But there's 3 specific ways that they always joke about how to pronounce that area. It's Wilkes.
Yeah. Wilkes. Well, let's do it. Wilkes-Barre.
See, dude, I've never said that shit. I've
So
always been
neither
a bar.
What?
Never a bear.
No,
Wilkes-Barre.
Nick. You're losing.
Dude, I'm not from here. So first and foremost, I got to get a little leniency with the fact that I didn't grow up with this.
You're losing me. You're saying NEPA and you're saying
Wilkes-Barre.
No, all of that is wrong.
Okay, teach me, sir. Let's go. I love this. I'm not even kidding.
So I don't like NEPA. I just don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the way it's like in NEPA. I don't even know, like, if someone said NEPA, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is all personal opinion. Like, I have nothing to back up this reasoning. So, I mean, who the fuck am I? But NEPA, don't like it. NEPA, I don't know why I like that better. I just do. Because it's northeastern Pennsylvania. So, I mean, the abbreviation for Pennsylvania is PA. So, I guess if I had to kind of back it up, I'd say, well, no, because northeastern is one word.
It's weird. That's why I didn't know about it.
I don't know. I like NEPA. I don't know why. I don't like NEPA. Don't like NEPA. Now, as far as Wilkes-Barre versus Wilkes-Barre versus Wilkes-Barre, I always used to say Wilkes-Barre. And I will still go back and forth between Wilkes-Barre and Wilkes-Barre. The only reason that I have kind of started to adopt Wilkes-Barre is because this is a shameful plug here. One time I was backstage at the FM Kirby Center. I had the honor and privilege of announcing the band Blue October to the audience. And when I was backstage, they actually had the pronunciation on the wall. So that way, the artist, if they wanted to address the crowd, hey, Wilkes-Barre, they could say it the correct way. Now, I don't know, where the FM Kirby Center, got their information from, which, where it's right or wrong. But the Kirby Center is a staple in the downtown. I'm going to say that the history of that building and the city definitely is above me. And so I will now use Wilkes-Barre solely based on the fact that I saw it on the wall at the FM Kirby Center backstage. And they are using that to, relay that message to artists that are performing there. That's why. Now, I have
sense.
Wilkes-Barre. I mean, to me, the word bar is spelled B-A-R. The spelling of Wilkes-Barre or Wilkes-Barre is B-A-R-R-E. So, I mean, if it was spelled Wilkes, B-A-R, I could say, sure, Nick, Wilkes-Barre makes sense. But I guess also it was named after two people. Last name Wilkes, last name Barry. So I guess it would be, however, the person who had the last name Barry or Bear or Bar, in your case, however they said their name is how it should be. But it seems as if no one really knows the correct answer to that question.
They all make sense in like thinking about like names. You know, names are usually like if your last name's Smith, it's because you were at some point a smith or some shit like that, a blacksmith. So like I don't know, you could be out there and made your money on wine or berries or some shit like that. You could have been known for pelting bears, or you could have had great bars of steel or some shit like that. Like all of them kind of make sense in my wacky little mind. But I guess I'll for this conversation for the rest of it, I'll spell out NEPA and I'll say Barry.
God damn it, you better.
Goddamn right.
Well, speaking of names, I don't really know you. I introduced you tonight as Nick James, but I don't know you as that. I just recently kind of heard that as your name, and I will address you as such. But is there a story behind the name Nick James?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones, to be honest. Kind of going back to Wilkes, where I joined the radio, and I guess even maybe before that, I was doing that with the other podcast, but I cemented it in the radio because I was just like, no, I want to. Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. They were like, what's your name? And I was like, Nick James. And they're like, no, what's your on air name? And I was like, Nick James. They're like, why? You could change it. You could be like anything you want. Like, I'm DJ Renegade. And I just looked at this person. I was like,
No.
renegade is not the word that would ever describe what you do on or off the air. And I just thought it was the most ridiculous thing. And I'll still like, I don't know if he listens. He could possibly listen. He'll know who he is. You're not a renegade. And I thought that was ridiculous. So I've been going just with my first and middle name. Just, I think it's cool too. Also, like, I think it came, when Chappelle Show was first on and popular.
Sure.
And somebody realized my name was Nick James, and you can make the I'm Nick James, bitch, joke with that.
Right.
But yeah, that kid going like, I'm DJ Renegade. It's just like,
What?
I'm sure you are there, pal. You enjoy that. My name's Nick James because that's my fucking name.
Well, that's so funny that you say that because like when I started my radio show, when I had one, the program director at the time, he's like, you need a name. So I'm like, man, like, I don't know. First of all, like I'm the least like cocky or overcompensating person ever, right? So I'm like, what am I saying? Like, oh, it's Viper, or hey, it's like Renegade, or like, hey, everybody, like that sounds stupid. That's fucking stupid. He's like, well, what did people call you in high school? I'm like, you have a nickname? I'm like, no. People call me by my last name because there was like 3 Johns, like from like elementary school through even high school. Like there were, at least 3 or more Johns. So like we were just called by our last name. And he's like, cool, then use Popko. I'm like, perfect. That's my name.
And not only that, and I was kind of thinking about it too. So sorry if it's creepy that I thought about your name so much. It's phonetically easy. It looks exactly how it is. So my last name I usually don't say, but like it doesn't sound exactly how you'd spell it, or it doesn't spell exactly. So when you're spelling it out, it doesn't work. So not only is your name really good like that, it's short. It's got, I love everything about the Popko Project. Like everything's right there. I thought it was a great name. I wish my name was easier like that, but it's not.
Well, thank you. Because I mean, when I started the show, I did not want my name to be in it at all. I thought it was very pretentious. I didn't want like people to think I was fooling myself. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of people thinking that I am someone that I'm not for a lot of my career. I mean, I was Johnny Weekender for my career at the Weekender. Again, not a name that I gave myself. It was given to me from a guy in a band, the lead singer of Lesson One back in like 2006. but people had this like perception of me that like I thought I was like this like guy who thought he was bigger and better than he was, and I was never that. Like I second guess myself more times a day than I care to admit, and you know, I I judge myself more than anyone who listens or watches this podcast ever could, and so to have my name as part of it, it was not something I wanted to do, but people are like, people know that name. People are familiar with who that is. You have to keep it. And people way smarter than me they said that to me, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? I was like, oh, should I? No, the Popko show. I'm like, well, I don't want to call it a show. It's not a fucking comedy hour. It's not like I'm not Ellen DeGeneres. I'm not like
Yeah.
I don't have a show. I'm not going to put on a play for anybody, right? And that's what I kind of felt that the word show meant. So I'm like, how the fuck? What do I do? Like, what do I like? How do I make this work? And I was actually driving down 315 one day. It's just like days and days of thinking about it. And I'm like, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? And I wanted this to be a platform for good. I did, when I launched the podcast, I had Shirts for the Scene, which was a big fundraiser for the local bands in the area. And I was like, what do I want this to do? And what do I want it to be? I said, I want it to be a vehicle for good. I want it to be something that makes a difference. And I'm like, what about and I wanted to use is that alliteration? Is that what that is?
Yep.
Popko, yeah.
Double alliteration.
Yeah. So I'm like the Popko Project. I'm like, what do you like? To complete a project, you use tools around you. You use things at your disposal, and just to make things happen. So I'm like, perfect. It's got the alliteration, my last name in it. Here we are. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, oh well.
And it's open too. So buds, bros, and superheroes in the bro section, I can kind of get away with a little bit because it's just about being brothers and being friends and talking and bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But in the bud section, I should kind of stick to the topics of what I call traveling the green. And in the superhero section, I should bring up some fucking superheroes. It's just what I got to do. So I like the idea of project too, because like you're saying, like with a project, it's almost got experimental in the name of it almost. So you just kind of know, like, I don't know what I'm going to get every time. It's not a build of like this, and this. It's just like, no, so we're going to tune up and we're going to see what fucking happened this week. And I like that. I love that idea of it.
So yeah, I mean, let's get into buds, bros, and superheroes. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you kind of like mine's very free flowing. We can go on a tangent. We can, sometimes it won't make sense. What I like about yours, it's right in the name. It's buds, bros, and superheroes, and I like the fact that there's a direction. There's segments. There's topics, so to speak. So, I mean, talk a little bit about buds, bros, and superheroes, how it came to be, what your goals and plans are for it, and then all that kind of stuff.
Well, the topics came from I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I think we brought up he did a show with Andrew McElfresh, Professor Andy McElfresh, called Edumacation, where in that show there was 4 sections: the psi, the phi, the y, and the bi. And Kevin ended up hating it, whereas Andy really clung to the structure. And I find myself doing that too, of just like, all right, we're going to learn about science fiction, sci-fi, why. Kevin's going to ask a random question, and Andrew's very smart, so we'll look it up and try to explain it to Kevin, who is, a stupid, as he puts it, a stupid stoner. And as a quote unquote similar feeling stupid stoner, I love learning cocktail party knowledge of just like, did you know that more people went into the Walt Disney World in the first day? And, just weird shit like that. So much until there's a book. But anyway, they had that structure, and I liked knowing what I was going to show up for, in a sense, because a lot of other Kevin's shows like Smodcast he does with Mosier, it's more of a just kind of showing up and doing stuff. And I had done that a little bit with Gluttons for Geekdom. We had certain things that we wanted to get to, but it wasn't like You know, when you listen to my podcast, I literally say, now we're going to close out of this section and head into the next section. Like it kind of has a flow, and the way I set it up with the intro and the outro, like every podcast, I like to think of a flight, if you will. And, you know, think of everybody's, I stole from Stanley. Every comic book is somebody's first comic book. So you got to treat it as such. So I try to pretend like my whatever episode I'm on, whatever podcast episode that is, it's somebody's first. So I try to be like those people, just like, hey, we're going to start now. This is what's in store. And then I talk them through constant updates of like, we're leaving this, we're going into that. We're leaving this, we're going into that. And then the outro music comes and it's like, we're coming in for a landing, guys. Like, yeah, you made it to the end of the episode. This is great. Why I started it, I think I mentioned that I met a new friend and he didn't know. Like he was literally wearing a Superman shirt, and I was just like, "So do you like Christopher Reeves, Brandon Routh, or Henry Cavill the best?" And he just looked at me like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, there's three guys, or maybe we could talk about Tom Welling. He was on Smallville, or the new guy who's playing it in the Legends of Tomorrow." And I'm just unloading the way I'm kind of unloading now, just boom, 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 boom. And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Meanwhile, I had just gotten my Pennsylvania medical marijuana card. So I was just like, he's like, "Did you try this strain?" And I was like, "What?" You know, I was just going in there and just like, "Hey, can I have weed?" And like, so he was like, "Terpenes, you should look out for those, and what different percentages and different things." So like the idea came from that of just like, you're a guru of that, I'm a guru of this. Like, what if we just kind of bullshitted and in between that talked about life? And I didn't look it up, but we did like 20 some episodes together before it just almost like we were talking about before. No bad blood, no nothing of amicably, just him like, I'm going to take this every week and kind of bring someone in and come back and be on an episode. And we're still planning that. You know, his name is Big Body Biggs, the Canna Pimp. Look him up on YouTube. He's really doing big things. He's out in a different state right now, helping somebody get their grow up and going, like in a bigger room than this. It's like recreational. He really does know his shit. He's going to be posting good stuff to his YouTube. But now I just bring on other people, mostly older friends. It's been great. I have two of my favorite guests as well. Like they're all my favorite guests, including you. But like I've had her family on, my wife's family. So now like her cousins are starting to become my friends. So as before, you know, we were sitting at Thanksgiving, like, "Can you pass the potatoes?" And now it's just like, did you believe it when fucking Leia flew from space inside of the thing? Like that was bullshit. And like even that has now bloomed. And to kind of hark back on anybody who might be out there, like, should I start a podcast? Absolutely. Do it. Only good things happen, you know, especially if you want to do it for you and you're just going to do it. I've had a great experience with it, and Buds, Bros, and Superheroes. It's in terms of the future, I hope it only goes up. I would like to see us be able to say stuff like, "Hey, if you want to try it, use the code word Buds, Bros, and Superheroes." Like that would be cool for us. That's one of the steps I want to get into doing for something, hopefully something that I could back as well. That'd be great. Or just maybe getting someone even more famous on here. I don't know. I like what we're doing so far. I like the randomness of it, yet it's struggling. It's organized chaos in a sense, and it's fun. I'm sorry I rambled so much.
No, dude. I mean, I love it. I mean, and I think the podcast community as a whole, like, it's exactly that. It's a community, and it's a form of media that, uh, you know, things like newspapers and radio stations, like, I don't think I ever saw coming. And it's unscripted, it's uncensored, it's so much, and like radio, and I'll use radio as an example because it's an audio format. Like they're competing with other radio stations. So what I mean by that is like this just area in general, specifically, like 97.1 BHT is very similar to 98.5 KRZ. It's top 40 station, so they're competing for the same audience, right? So obviously KRZ wants to be better than BHT. Like KRZ wants to have more listeners because they can attract more advertising dollars and things like that. Podcasts, like that competitiveness and that like weird vibe between the two of them doesn't or shouldn't exist. We should be working together. Like, you know, we are working on a crossover episode where I was a guest on yours, you're a guest on mine. I was able to hopefully add value to yours, and you're doing wonders for, you know, adding value to mine. Is just having a perspective on, you know, NEPA, NEPA, whatever you want to call it. But no, it's just it's fun, and it's loose, and it's exciting, and it's a great medium to you know, put out there. Um, so that, I mean, that's why I love it, and I just love, you know, talking to different people, and hopefully, you know, learning a thing or two from them, and um, just kind of crafting the spoken word.
I was talking to somebody earlier. Let me get your opinion on this. Of right now, he was asking, "So how's it going?" And we were talking, and you made a joke earlier of like me and my two listeners, and I wanted to make the joke of like that's two more than me, pal, because you do start off kind of slow, and I like it too. And you can definitely, you know, with your past knowledge of music and even current knowledge of on the scene of, I explained it to him of like right now I feel like I'm in the band, just playing to the other bands who are there to play that night too. You know, nobody's actually there, but people are there. Like it's your family. You know,
Yeah,
for my mom and my dad are my biggest fans, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like they come to me all the time sometimes. And they're like, I didn't know that about you. And I'm like, really? Because we're fucking related. It's crazy. We grew up in the same house. I thought you would have known that I didn't like to put mustard on stuff, whatever the case may be. But I do feel like that sometimes, but that's also a good feeling because the friends that I have, so I'm gonna, if you don't mind, anybody else who likes nerdy podcasts, the Reasons I'm Broke podcast has been a good friend of mine since Gluttons for Geekdom. Like that's how long I've known that dude, and I've been on his. He now, like, he started it with his wife, and now he's on a rotating schedule. And that around the same time that I started it, like I'm not going to say I ripped off his idea, but the idea of like, oh wow, you can kind of do that during Skype was definitely a little bit of like, oh okay, great. And he's just super supportive, and I get that now all the time on Instagram too. Like I get followed, and it's like, hey, if you sub to mine, I'll sub to yours, and it's like, okay, let's do that. That sounds like a good plan. And just yeah, it does feel a little bit like I'm the drummer in the room playing to 10 drummers, but shit, at least 10 drummers are there. I think it was
yeah,
a guy named Joe on my show, sorry, who was like, imagine trying to get people in a conference room. My show comes out Saturdays at 3, every Saturday at 3 o'clock. How many people would stop showing up after the first week? And I was like, that's a good point. Like the fact that even one guy shows up now 42 weeks in a row or however many episodes, like that's kind of cool when you put it in that perspective of like, oh, he likes it. Okay, this is cool. I'm going to keep doing this.
yeah.
Sorry again for talking
No,
so
don't
much
be,
there.
dude. That's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. I love to hear the perspective. I mean,
I feel like I just go on rapid fire sometimes where I'm like, even in my own head, it's like, all right, pump the fucking brakes, man.
not at all. Not at all. No, it's good. It's, you know, it's, what do you say? You say, you know, it could be nobody listening, really. I mean, it's, I don't know if I said this tonight with you now or during, you know, our previously recorded. Um, it's just, it's fun. It could be you by yourself, and it's a passion. It's for no one else. It could just be for you. It doesn't need to be for an audience. We're not going to be the next Joe Rogan. We're not going to be the next Ben Shapiro or whoever, you know, has the top podcast. I mean, there's podcasts out there called Call Her Daddy. I think is a big one now. Just signed exclusively to Spotify as well. She was on the there's a big story with that. She was on Barstool Sports, and she had a co-host, and like they broke up, and Dave Portnoy got pissed, and there's a whole thing with that. So if you're interested in hearing about that drama, that was like this last year. It actually is a very interesting story. They didn't feel that, you know, Barstool made them. They felt like their content made them. But it's like, well, Barstool definitely had a play in that because Barstool had the brand and the listeners and the followers before these two girls ever existed. but the two girls thought like, people were listening to them because they were talking about sex and fucking and all that kind of shit. Men are stupid. Men will listen to these women and think that, oh, they're talking about sex. They probably want to fuck me. That's seriously how it works. It's fucking weird and like sad. Because that's their content. Is like they talk about sex and shit like that. And it's not like, I mean, it may have been, I haven't listened to it in a year, and I won't listen to it because they were in the news and the media and Dave Portnoy and the Barstool Sports, yada yada. It could be different now. Maybe she, whatever. But what was I getting with that? Where was I going? Fuck.
I call those potholes
No, where the fuck
because
was
of
I
the
going with
double
that?
entendre with pot.
Yes, potholes.
Yes, thank you.
But just kind of getting the idea that we're not going to be at that level, right?
Oh yeah.
But maybe one day someone hears this and says, "Hey, we want to back you and put some money behind you, and we'll help you with the production." Who knows? But end of the day, is what I'm getting at is it's for ourselves. It's fun to be able to this is a pure hobby for me. I mean, it's right now it's 20 to 12 on a Thursday night. I should be in bed, way past my bedtime. Work tomorrow. Kids gonna wake up regardless of what time I go to bed. But you know what? I'm having a great time. Catching up with a little friend. Haven't talked to you in probably 2 years. Happy to hear the endeavors that you're on, and it's fun, man. It's fun. End of the day, it's fun.
And the thing you kind of brought up earlier and touched upon too is, God forbid, and I'll knock on wood, sorry if it's loud in anybody's ear. Like if your memory ever goes, like that is cool. My episodes are up on the Apple, Spotify, YouTube, like they're up on the internet is what I'm trying to say. And like that shit's never going to get deleted. Even if I delete it, it's still never coming down. I will always be able to go to it. I keep hard copies on like, you know what I mean? And it'll be great, especially too. And I don't mean to get too somber, but we did talk about my parents, and eventually they're not going to be with me. And as much as my memory, even if it doesn't go, I'll eventually lose their voices. That's what they say, with loved ones. You eventually stop remembering how they sound. It's like, not me. I have an hour of us giggling about pot and Potter was the name of the episode. Talking pot and Potter with my parents because that alliteration that we love so much. And I have that, and that's great. And though I never hope to have to use it like all the time of like, I miss them so much, it's always going to be there. And the same thing, I've had my brother on the show. I've had my oldest friends. And who knows, this could be the start of our relationship, and we could track that back to like, holy shit, do you remember the first time we really talked and started something? Like this could be the ripple effect of opening up a studio. I don't know. Nobody knows really what the future is, but now we can go back and be like, that was that night, dude. We hadn't talked in 2 years. We spent 4 hours podcasting on 2 different shows, and it changed our lives forever. Like it is kind of cool to record yourself and have it forever.
That's really cool what you said about your parents, because that's it's funny. I have probably 4 or 5 voicemails from my mother that I will not delete. Just because what you just said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I only need one, but it's one of those things like I know that I mean I hope that I outlive her only because of the fact that I have a son and a wife, and that's kind of how things are supposed to happen. I know, obviously, I don't want her to ever pass away, but it's funny that you said that because you have that audio documentation that you can have for you the rest of your life. I lost my dad 16 years ago now, and I wish that I had any audio of him. I wish I had more pictures of him. He was not a picture guy. Life is short, and I think it's important that we capture as much as we can, whether it's a photo or an audio clip or whatever it might be. We never know what's going to happen and when we're going to be have that taken from us, which is it's sad to think about, but It's reality. Um, so, again, I mean, I encourage anyone that is thinking about doing a podcast to do it. It's not expensive to start. There's no one telling you can't. I have no business having one, but I do.
Same.
There's
I
there's
feel that.
there's no gatekeeper saying, "Oh, you can't put this on Spotify." It's none of that. Just fucking record it, put it up. It's there forever, and enjoy it and learn from it, and get better at it. Learn how to talk. I'm still trying to figure that fucking shit out. But
I make up a lot of words, a lot of words. Because sometimes, as you've heard, the motor just goes and it's not going to settle for a bump that I don't know. And it'll just be like, yeah, and I'll just keep going. So, no, there's definitely no talent that's needed. I love your point of no gatekeepers. We're talking about other mediums and it's like, can I hang my art here? And it's like, no. And can I play my thing on your radio station? No. Can I make my movie and you distribute? No. Can I make a podcast and Apple put it out? Hell yeah.
yep.
Boom. How long
Yep.
does it have to be? I don't give a shit. What do I have to say? I don't give a fuck. I'll put it up there. I don't care.
Yep.
Load it. And that's exactly what it is. And that amount of freedom it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think my teacher at Wilkes is like, it's like the Wild West. There's no rules. And by the time they ever come around to try to rule it up, it's too far. We've gone too far. There's everything out there. There's no reining it in anymore. There's no slapping some sort of who monitors the FCC. Like the FCC is there's no way that's ever going to get in it. It's like walking up to a tangled web and just going like, I don't even know where to start. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell this guy he can't do this. Because then I'd have to tell 12 other million people that they can't do that. I'm
freedom of speech.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's friendships have been made through it. It's great. It really is. So what else? What else about buds, bros, and superheroes should people know about?
If they could, if they're listening, like subscribing's great. That's what we're kind of talking about too, of not having a lot of those. But really at the end of the day, the thing that I ask for at the end of every episode is if you know a friend who likes buds, bros, or superheroes, if I got a show for you. It's funny, I didn't ever think about calling it a show until you said that. I was like, is it a show? I don't know. I call it a show, but even today when I was like, what's your schedule? It's whatever your show can do. Like, I guess it's kind of a show. I don't know.
See, when I thought about my show, I'll call it a show, right? There was no structure to it. I think about a show of having like structure and a plan and a goal. I don't have that. That's why we get all these tangents. But like you have a set itinerary, which I love because it keeps you on track and you go through the segments and you kind of have a kind of a plan. I'm not great at planning. I don't like plans. I don't like being tied to a time limit or a topic or whatever it might be. I don't like that. Mm-hmm. And that's why I would never make it in the military. Not only am I a pussy, I could never handle someone yelling at me, telling me what to do. Just don't have it in me. Don't like
Especially over a bed, bro. Like if you're gonna teach me shit to stay alive, all right, you can yell that at me so I remember. But like my bed's fine. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I get the idea and the foundation to an extent. It's just not something I can do. Plus, I'm a big pussy. So you tell me to go out with a gun or anything like that. I'm
not doing that.
No.
Nope.
I'm so thankful that there's people who are fucking way tougher and superior in that aspect of life than I am, because without them we would not have the freedom we have. But yeah, I mean, I also think it's funny that you have like a segment like dedicated to weed. I mean, I'm assuming you're a big connoisseur.
I'd like to start to think that I'm heading in that direction, because when I really go back to the origin of it, that was supposed to be the quote unquote other guy's area to guru me into, as I was learning about going to dispensaries and getting in and what different things are. Because I have bought weed legally in Colorado, in California and stuff. So I'm not like new to showing your ID and you wait in a little room. And then once it's your time, you go from that little room to another little room. So that I was all used to and stuff like that. But in terms of when you get it, I'll show you here. It's how they package medicine now and stuff. And it's got all these fun facts and numbers, and they all mean shit, which is great to know. You know, you got to know how much THC, CBD, the different terpenes in it, because I am prescribed this because it is a medicine. You know, I don't feel comfortable disclosing why I get it, but just know that I look for certain types of terpenes, look for certain types of cannabinoids that are supposed to shut down my cannabinoidal system, or not shut it down, but affect it. That's what it is. It's all receptors, and then things come over the receptors and like block it or shit. I'm not a
Like
1,000% on the
science.
science, but I am
Science.
I'm trying to learn science. I am
Science.
trying to learn about it a little bit more. So that has become the kind of goal of it. And shout out to Danny G, and kind of too the shout out to the podcasting community of like this guy who's come on my podcast and dropped knowledge was my bud tender. Like, and he was
Love that
one
name
day,
too.
yeah, one day the guy, Big Body Biggs, was like, "Hey, you should listen to this." He was a fan, and now all of a sudden, like, we're friends. And he comes over and he drops knowledge, and he's great at his job, and he's got a fuck ton of why this does what it does and how it does it. And going back to what you're saying of how cool that is, like, he's the guy for that. I would follow his. If you live in the NEPA, it's NEPA Canna. And now this whole time too, I'm gonna have to re-say his name, because as I was looking at his Instagram name, I've just been going Nepacana, but now I can't say that because it sounded like Tropicana. So I thought,
I like that too, though. That makes sense in that aspect.
my biggest thing with it is there is a difference between an acronym and an initialism. You don't go around saying like Kaya or you say CIA, or you don't
Right.
go ERS, it's the IRS. Those are initialisms. When you could say
Right.
the word, it becomes, scuba. We could say the word scuba and we also know what it means. So that's why I think I always went that way with NEPA, because you could say it out loud, but I'm going to spell it now. Don't worry, NEPA.
Well, like I said, I mean, NE doesn't make sense because Northeastern is one word.
Agreed.
PA makes sense because for Pennsylvania, PA is the abbreviation. You wouldn't say PA. I'm not from I'm from PA. I'm not from PA,
Agreed.
right?
Yeah. I do think
So
that the name of
NEPA
the
wouldn't.
state definitely helps it. Because if it was like Northeastern New Jersey, you wouldn't go Ninja.
Right.
That's why I'm starting to you're selling me. I'm starting to understand now.
I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird.
It is.
But I think the whole pot community, um, it's such a cool. It's almost similar to the craft beer industry. I'm thinking about like when we were younger. I mean, it was Miller Lite, Coors Light, Budweiser. There was like 4 or 5 like beers that were like thrown at you. The craft beer industry, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm having a wonderful Nimble Giant by Trogs Brewing Company, independent brewing company. Great craft brew, 9% ABV. People listening or watching can probably tell I'm a little bit affected by this, but you know, I feel like the craft beer industry created a space for people to build relationships on. That people could, talk about beer. They could, there's just this foundation. It's like people created relationships off of these things, and I think the same can be said for marijuana, weed, whatever you want to call it. We talked about it before. The indica, the sativa, the different smells, the different are there flavor profiles? I don't know. Again, I'm not good at weed. But there's different levels and there's different, names, and it's a culture. That's what I'm getting at. There's a culture behind it, and it's neat.
And I love that comparison. I want to keep that going all the time of, I just got stickers. Hold on. So stickers. Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome. And somebody didn't want it because, as you see, there is indeed a water pipe and some nugs in and around the buds. And the pros is us slamming. So, yes, it's so funny. So, we talked about Utopia, and they weren't allowed to say bong. So, they had a sign, and it was like, if it rhymes with gong, you're saying it wrong. We sell water pipes.
Water
And I was like,
pipes,
that's fucking
yes.
funny. And they were like, no, that makes me uncomfortable. And I don't start shit. I'm kind of with you on the train of just like, I just went, okay. But I wanted to be like, what if it was like a craft beer? And instead of going around trying different strains of weed, I was trying different local IPAs, or is that the right word? Or what does that stand for? See, I'm ignorant in that altogether. But if I was going around doing that, would you not care as much? And I feel like their answer would be like, well, that's different. Like,
it's legal. It's legal.
What I'm doing is too.
It's killed thousands of people, but it's okay.
Yeah, I said it to somebody.
It's ruined families, but it's okay because it's legal.
I said it to somebody on my show about, like, if you were to break into an alcohol store, a liquor store, how many products do you have to take off the shelf before you kill yourself with the product? One handle of vodka would probably do it.
Right.
Whereas, if you break into a pot store, how much of the product do you have to ingest before you kill yourself? And it's all of it plus, because you can't fucking do it. Right. And yet one of them's just like, no, kids, come in. We'll sell you gum at the front too. And while your parents run to the back, like, blows my mind a little bit.
And I enjoy beer. And I enjoy beer, the flavor. You're not going to see me, pounding 12 Miller Lights on Wednesday night, but you will see me, have a couple beers occasionally on a Thursday, like it is right now. It's poison. End of the day, it's poison. And I'm not sure how, good it is to inhale anything. I do think that, inhaling weed smoke compared to, let's say, cigarettes, far different. But again, you look at alcohol versus weed. I think it's far more dangerous as far as its addictiveness and things like that. It's proven to be far more dangerous. People drinking and driving and things like that. But it's legal. And at the end of the day, that's what they say. Well, this is legal and this isn't. So this is the devil and this isn't. But I think at the end of the day, this is the bigger devil compared to weed.
And they'll also forget, like, yeah, there was a time in America where that was illegal too. And then all of a sudden we were like, not anymore. We changed our mind. So
yeah,
we could totally do that shit again. And it seems, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but it does seem like we're going that way. At least with our governor and our lieutenant governor would like that stuff. And even just federally of getting it legal, I think is going to open the door, and there won't be a state that doesn't sell it.
Yeah.
Once it's federally legal, there won't be a state that keeps it illegal itself.
Yeah. Maybe. And don't get me wrong. Big fan of beer. I've been on the good side of, beer sponsors for various shows I've been a part of in the past. I just, be responsible with anything else, with anything in the world. Be responsible. Sir. Be responsible with drinking. Be responsible smoking pot. Be responsible. And that's the thing I think that we have a problem with in the world in general is no one wants to be held accountable. They just want to be able to point the blame somewhere else. But guess what, guys? In a day, you got to be responsible for yourself and for the people around you. And I think if we're mindful of that, things will be better in general.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's some fucking, you dropped it, man.
I'll end it there.
That's how you do it. Yeah, that's how you do it, man.
But yeah, I'm nobody. You can call me an idiot and say I'm fucking stupid. That's fine too. But I don't know.
I would love to see the other side of that argument. Like, Popko, You're wrong. I'm not going to drink and drive responsibly. You're stupid. Like, who? I would love to find the person who actually calls you out on that, because
Yeah, you're
that'd be a
right, but-
person to sterilize immediately.
Well, dude, it's been a great time talking to you. I'm very happy for you with the new venture with Buds Bros and Superheroes. It's a great concept. It's a nice. It's like 3 different topics, but they all kind of also fit together. And
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's nice
yeah.
to hear. It's good to get some feedback.
I appreciate being a guest on your show. I appreciate meeting you a few years back, and I hope our paths cross again very soon. We'll have to look into that studio space
Definitely. Oh yeah, that'll be a great talk for the future. Absolutely, sir.
because, I mean, like I said, I think we're both in the mindset of making our efforts better, but that shit costs money, man.
All the time, like everything.
But
it'd be fun. That's for fucking sure. It would be fun.
yeah, but check out Nick James, not to be confused with Rick James, Buds Bros and Superheroes, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all the popular streaming avenues. And I say this a lot when I close things out, and I mean it every time I say it. I hopefully will see you sooner than later.
Absolutely. That sounds like a fucking plan. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
bullshitting and talking and being on mine as well. Thank you.
Take care. Take care of those doggies. Take care of your wife.
All right.
I'll
You
talk
take
to you
care
soon.
of your family too. I'll talk to you soon, Popko.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Yep. We'll see you.
Bye.